Pat Welter, Brian Murphy here in Chapel Hill after a 17-16 overtime loss for the Tar Heels versus, number 16 ranked Virginia. So progress in that regard for the second straight week, right, Brian? UNC has lived up to the billing as far as what they've been telling us on the podium ever since that rough loss to Clemson. They are improving. They are not winning. What's kind of your takeaway from this one?
This was a chance for a signature victory for Bill Belichick in his first season. First win over a Power 4 team, first win over a ranked team, first ACC win, and it was there.
Yeah.
It was there for the taking. When they go back and look at the film, they're going to regret the turnovers in the red zone. They've got 5 red zone turnovers this year, 2 in this game alone. Kobe Pacer trying to make it into the end zone, fumbles. Gio Lopez throws an interception. Those kind of mistakes are a difference maker for a team that lacks the talent to blow anybody out. You cannot make those kind of mistakes.
And it's hard to make it up either, right? Because this is 2 weeks in a row where the Cal game ends on the fumble at the goal line on what could have been the go-ahead, potentially game-winning score. Then you come to this week, and they open the game with the drive into the red zone. It's their second possession. It's Kobe Pacer. I thought it was a touchdown potentially when they were reviewing it, but then they review it to find out that it was a fumble out the back of the end zone, which is one of the harshest rules in all of football. You're going in to score, and then you not only get 0 points, the other team gets the ball. Just brutal. Maybe that's a conversation for another podcast, but for that to happen back-to-back weeks, essentially, and then here, this game ends at the goal line as well, where they decide to go for 2 in overtime in Benjamin Hall, just an inch short. So is the takeaway positive? It's clearly positive as far as how they are improving. The defense was spectacular. This team, Virginia, is averaging 500 yards per game. Chandler Morris has been one of the stories in college football, and they completely shut them down all afternoon. So at a minimum, there are things to build on. And from where we were a few weeks ago when it looked like this team, who had not been competitive at all in Power 4 football, looked like they were not going to win any ACC games. Right now we sit here and they easily could have won 2 ACC games in a row.
Yeah, a couple of things to unpack there. I thought it was the right decision to go for 2. You've got an offense that really struggles to score. I wasn't thrilled with the play call, but I thought the decision-making to go for 2 was the right call. You'd like to see Lopez get that ball out of his hands a little quicker, give Hall a better chance, or maybe even run the ball. Also, you've got a left-handed quarterback. You put the ball on the left hash mark, and now he has to roll right. Just makes it a little more difficult for him. So a couple of things I think coaching-wise you'd like to clean up on that, but I did think overall it was the right decision. The defense, Virginia had only allowed 5 sacks all season. They allowed 6 today. Melkart Abu Jabudi, I know that is
pretty good, better than me.
That is not correct. That is not correct. But he had a fantastic game. 6 sacks for UNC. He had 3 of them.
Yeah,
they really got pressure on Chandler Morris when they needed to, and so I think the defense. The other thing I would say, they keep talking about progress. Bill Belichick, for all of his flaws, and I think we can question some of the decisions he's made about some of the staff that he's chosen, can coach football.
Yes.
There's never been any doubt about that. And to hear player after player come to the podium and say, I've learned more about football in the last 4 months than I knew my entire life, you can see the improvement that these guys are making. I think they're being coached well, but I do think there's obviously some talent issues, and then just a couple of mistakes a game for a team that this team has not scored more than 20 points against an FBS team, and they've not scored more than 18 against a Power 4 team. That's putting a lot of pressure on your defense, and that's probably going to be the way it is all season. I don't see that changing.
Well, they're starting to have an identity, right? You talked about the pass rush this week. It was Melkart this week. I'm just go with the first name. We need to learn it because he was spectacular. Last week it was Tyler Thompson getting the sacks in the pass rush versus Cal. So they clearly have an identity on defense. The running game has been pretty solid throughout the year. The passing game has really been the glaring weakness. And while Gio Lopez was able to move the ball today, it was very dink and dunk. And that's just not sustainable as far as when you need these 10 play plus drives to generate points. That's where something's going to go wrong, and it has.
Yeah, interesting. They're using players we haven't even heard of.
Yeah.
Madrid Tucker. If you know who Madrid Tucker is, kudos to you. You're a diehard UNC fan. Had not played a single game this season. was the leading receiver, 8 catches, only 41 yards, but had the most receptions. Jalen McGill, who had 1 catch all year, was seeing receptions and touches out of the backfield as a running back. They're continuing to find new playmakers, and I think that speaks to the fact they don't have enough.
Yeah.
I mean, they're using multiple running backs, not only Damon June, Benjamin Hall, Davion Goss. McGill got some carries today. They're still experimenting at wide receiver, finding a new guy in Madrid Tucker. So I think it's an indication that the offense knows they've got to find additional playmakers somewhere.
Yeah, they're desperately seeking explosive plays. And that was one of the themes from the press conference earlier in the week. The press conference after the game, you're not going to really get much from Bill Belichick. I think that's been established.
This was a vintage Bill Belichick. Asked about the 2-point conversion. We're trying to win the game. We all know you're trying to win the game. No insight into that thinking. I asked him about the play at the end of the game. Carolina's at the 49. They need maybe 15 yards for a field goal attempt, a legitimate field goal attempt. They instead try to go way down the field. Lopez is intercepted on a ball that Tucker almost pulled down, ends up getting intercepted, and you don't get the chance to kick the field goal. Asked him about that play. He said we were trying to get in field goal range. That would have put us in field goal range. A little bit different than a cross over the middle. But I think the team is certainly getting better. And to hear Jordan Shipp after the game talk about emotions in the locker room, people crying because, when you get blown out, it's one thing. But when you lose this close, I think it sticks with you. It hurts a little bit more. He said he was ready to go play Syracuse tomorrow.
He clearly hasn't completely lost the team, right? I mean, that was probably the fear a couple weeks ago. There's the Clemson game. And then there's our reports, all the national reports that come out about kind of why the play on the field had been so bad, the divide in the locker room, the culture issues, the failure to kind of implement the NFL model. I think all those things and those points still stand, but what we've seen is that the team's galvanized a little bit around it. The team has gotten better since. We've seen that now 2 weeks in a row, because that was kind of my standpoint. It was like, okay, if you're going to get up on the podium and tell us everything's rosy behind the scenes when I know it's not, then we need to see it on the field. And to their credit, we have. And I think this has kind of changed, at least my standpoint going forward, where I probably would have told you, Brian, I would have bet that Belichick was not brought back for a second season, the way things looked, the way the momentum was trending. I mean, they still haven't won a game.
They lost 4 in a row
since the Richmond game. But, I mean, like we said before, they probably should have won 2 in a row. And these last 2 performances give me some optimism that they can win a game the rest of the season. And I think going forward, I wonder now, can they figure it out? Can they learn from their mistakes? Because the one thing Belichick has admitted that he did do wrong, or that they did wrong, was that early portal, right? That they're signing guys that they probably didn't want to sign. They're bringing in high school players that didn't have a lot of other Power 4 offers, and they had to make up a ton of ground in the spring. So do you kind of see the path now of patience where, like, next season, another round in the portal, another round of recruiting, they get the right players in, maybe this could work?
I always thought Belichick was going to get a second season for 2 reasons. Money. Yeah. And because a lot of people in leadership positions at UNC have sort of stuck their neck out and really made this happen. I don't think they were ready to pull the plug after 1 season, certainly not for on-field issues. There are enough built-in reasons. You can talk about the portal. You can talk about the transition. What I would like to see as this team moves forward is difference in general manager. I think you've got to upgrade the talent acquisition process. I'm not saying you have to get rid of Lombardi, but there's got to be people with some college experience brought in there. And I'd like to see maybe some staff upgrades. There was extra money that was allocated for assistants that wasn't spent. Can you go get an ace recruiter out of the SEC? Can you get someone like a Brian Hartline, who has produced NFL wide receivers at Ohio State, and promise him a coordinator job? That may be reaching a little too high, but is there someone as a position coach at one of these schools that's at Oregon, at Indiana, someone that's killing it that you can bring in here? I just think you need to upgrade the staff a little bit. But as I said earlier, I think Belichick is coaching really well. I think these players are getting better, but I think you're starting at a baseline of talent that is certainly not as high as it was in the Mac Brown days. And so how quickly can you remedy that problem, the talent issue? That I think will translate into wins on the field. I thought for a while they may not get another win. I think these last 2 weeks are an indication that they will win at least 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 more games this season.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think you bring up a lot of great points there. I mean, going forward, like they've taken a massive step back in the hopes of taking a step forward. So I think all those points you just made about the things that they need to do, because just getting back to where they were was never the goal of this whole thing.
Right.
The whole point of bringing him in was to take this program to another step, to get into the college football playoff conversation, to kind of not have those embarrassing losses that they had at the end under Mac Brown. And we're sitting here talking about a team optimistic for the first time in weeks, but put it in perspective, they have lost what?
4 in a row. They're 2-5. They still don't have an ACC win. They get Syracuse, which is a reeling Syracuse team. Lost its starting quarterback and hadn't been the same since then. They get a Stanford team that's not very good, quite frankly. They go to Wake Forest, and then they have Duke and NC State. I may have missed a game in there, but you know, that's 7 games. They got 5 more, so that's the whole schedule. Those are all games. I think if you're a North Carolina fan, you say we can and should win. If you're a Duke fan or an NC State fan, you probably are chalking up Carolina as a win yourself. So those are kind of 50-50 games. Can you win? You know, you win 4 of them, you get to go to a bowl game. I think that is the baseline. That's the goal for this team, given what's happened the last 2 weeks. Can you find a way for 4 wins, get to a bowl game, and I think salvage some of Bill Belichick's first season?
Well, Jordan Shipp said he wished he could go out and play right now. They do play on Friday, Halloween at Syracuse, correct? We'll see if these goal line issues, all these turnovers finally stop haunting them. For Brian Murphy, I'm Pal Welter. This has been our rapid reaction here of a 17-16 overtime loss to Virginia, also on the Triangle Into podcast.